Looks like we got a website emergency down here. Website has no marketing, no email marketing, no social media marketing of any kind. And it's not even ranking on the first page of Google. Over. 10-4, Mighty Mike and his marketing SWAT team are en route. Over.
You are listening to Business Marketing 911 with Mighty Mike and his marketing SWAT team. So buckle up and get ready because the episode is beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, my cool intro. Sometimes I get distracted and get pumped up where I gotta start hitting the weights. Oh, geez. Okay, bear with me here, guys. I'm so excited. I got Ray on, and he is the typical Filipino-American entrepreneur who grew up in Turkey, but get this, he lives in Mexico and uses his marketing skills to build award-winning 6- and 7-figure online businesses. Ray Blakney, welcome to the show, man.
Mike, thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, we're just going to have some fun here today, guys. We're going to dive in. We're going to find out Ray's story, and then we're going to get into some website insight. I know you guys are excited. I know I'm excited. And by the look of Ray, I think he's excited too.
Can't wait.
So if you're new to the show, go ahead and bang the like button. We're going live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. And of course, if you comment your website below, you can be entered to win $3,000 in website credits. And Ray, tell us, how did you get started in marketing?
Actually, so marketing was a necessity for me, right? So my background is I'm a computer engineer. I studied computer programming in college. I did my, what I like to call tour of duty in Silicon Valley, right? So I worked for some internet startups while I was out there. Didn't have a day off for like 2 years. Companies went up and went bankrupt. And, I was hoping to strike it rich at 21, 40, and I didn't strike it rich at 21. I'll tell you that, right? So after that, I went and did what everybody else is supposed to do. I went and got a job at a stable company so that they could give me my 401k, and I'd say thank you for 10 days of vacation days every year. Did that for about 5 years, and I remember then there was this commercial on TV for the U.S. military, and all my respect to the people in the military. My uncle was in there, but if somebody's shooting at me, I'm running the other way. But the commercial struck with me because there was a saying there saying, if somebody writes a book about your life, would anybody want to read it? And I was like, yeah, if I sit in this cube every day, write code for this Fortune 50 company to help them sell more of their product, yeah, I wouldn't read my own book, right? So I quit the job. I joined the U.S. Peace Corps. They sent me overseas. I, met my wife there. And at the end of those 2 years in the Peace Corps, I was like, why don't we just decide to start a business together, right? That seems like a logical thing to do. So we started the first business with my wife. Then the question came up like, so the business idea is great. How do we get people to find out about businesses? I know nothing at all about marketing. This is back 2007. And so I went online. I'm a computer guy, so I started reading SEO. What is this thing called SEO that people are talking about? So I started doing SEO in about 2007. Within 12 months, we were the #1 Spanish school in Mexico, which was the business that we launched. We ranked higher than schools that have been around for 20 years, mainly because no other Spanish school had a full-time SEO on their staff, and we now did. So that's how I got into search engine optimization. I have used that to bootstrap multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses over the last 12 years. The biggest one is right now is called Live Lingua. We're the 3rd largest online language school in the world, and the only one that doesn't have at least $10 million in VC money behind it. And we're competing with the big boys. And, my SEO knowledge is what got us here, and it's what's kind of keeping us competitive when everybody else is just throwing money at it. So that's how I got into marketing. And then since then, I've learned, Facebook, email funnels, all the rest of it afterwards. But SEO is the core all the time.
Well, that's really cool. Yeah, livelingua.com.
That's it.
You guys can go check that out. So you built these businesses and you're living in Mexico. Why Mexico? I'm curious.
So one, my wife's Mexican, right? So the Peace Corps sent me down to Mexico. I'm like, hey, I learned Spanish. I'm half Filipino, so people just assume I'm Mexican when I'm walking up and down the street. But yeah, my dad's Boston Irish, so, and my mom's a 5 foot tall Filipino lady, and apparently I look Mexican as a result of it. But the cool thing about living in Mexico is there's two things. First off, I'm in US time zone, right? I'm in Central Time. No problem at all if I'm working with clients and everything in the United States. Secondly, the cost of living is like 70% lower here. I have a cook, a cleaner. I just had my son. We have a night nurse and a nanny. We have a gardener who does our gardening, all for less than it would probably pay for rent in the major cities in the United States. I mean, everything. If you make $2,000 in Mexico, you are the 1%. And you imagine the lifestyle that you can have while you're there. Some people are concerned about the safety in Mexico because that's what you see on the news and all the rest of it. You stay in the major cities. When was the last time you heard about an American being shot in Mexico? You almost never do. It's because, there's narco violence. One, they're in these rural areas that nobody ever goes to. Mexico's got a ton of mountains. And the only reason you're going to meet these people is if you're selling or buying large quantities of crack cocaine or whatever other hard drug. So just don't do that, and you'll be perfectly safe. I've had no issues in Mexico. I had a laptop stolen once, but I lived in Cleveland, Ohio. I had my car stolen. I mean, it's not like anything different than what we have over there. And I mean, my standard of living is much higher than anything would be in the US. It was great when I was starting my businesses. If you're living in the US, you need to, let's say, make $3-4 grand at least just to kind of live. So starting a business is need to make that money real quick. In Mexico, if you make $500 to $1,000, you can live pretty comfortably. So, if you're starting a business as a side hustle and it's gotten to the level which is like $500 to $1,000 as a side hustle, and you want to take it to the next level, just move to Mexico, sit on a beach, drink your margaritas while you're building your business and live like a king for the next 3 or 4 years. Get that business from $1,000 up to $10,000. Then you can move home. And now you've got this $10,000 business that you're running after having probably worked on your tan for 4 years as well. And you have this, it gives you this great opportunity to do it. And it takes me 2 hours to fly to Austin from here. I'm close to the United States. I can have breakfast here and lunch in Texas. I mean, it's easy.
That's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. Well, maybe I'll move to Mexico and see if my girl goes with me.
There you go. You trust me. You work online. You do online marketing. There's nothing keeping you in a specific place, right? You can do that from there. Or again, imagine we were doing this and you were sitting with your margarita, looking out over the ocean, and somebody was serving you these amazing tacos that cost 50 cents each. Not like in the U.S. You get tacos and they're like $5. I go to the U.S. and they give me like $3, $5 for a taco. I'm like, what? No, I'm not going to pay that. I get a whole meal down back home for this. So
you get spoiled down there. So now you're going to be counting pesos, 80 pesos for a taco probably or something.
Yeah, 80 pesos. That'd be like, that's way more tacos than I can eat. That's a ton of. That's like really? $4? Yeah, that's like $4. That's easy. That'll fill me up easy.
Well, I love having people come on from all over the place, from different backgrounds. When I heard typical Filipino, I was like, so you do cold calling for leads? Or?
Sadly, I have cousins who do that. They work in what they call a BPO, business process outsourcing in Manila. And that's one of my businesses for a while, I had a VA company in the Philippines for a little bit as well.
So it was very typical. Yeah. So, and they have their place, for sure. Definitely help a lot of people. So, all right. Well, what would you say? It sounds like SEO, right? But I'll give you an opportunity. What would you say is your marketing superpower?
You definitely got it. It is SEO. It's what I've been doing for about 12 years. SEO has changed a lot in that time, but I have been able to build multiple successful businesses. Bootstrapping. My specialty is bootstrapping. I don't spend money on them, and I use SEO to do it. Once you use SEO, search engine optimization, to bring in the basic income, the beauty about SEO is it's organic traffic. You're not paying for it. So any customer you get from SEO is 100% profit. Right? I mean, all these e-commerce businesses are built on Facebook ads and PPC ads, and their margins are like 10%, because if they sell a $100 product, they spend $90 to get somebody to get and buy that product. Yeah, that's great. If you did that in SEO and you sold the product with $100 margin, you just made $100. I mean, you didn't make $10, you made $100. So if you can get that business in there, then you can move up into PPC, but you're using your business money to do it instead of using your own savings and your own cash to build your business. Great way to go. It's not a silver bullet, is one of the things I want to stress, as we're going to examine this page and talk about SEO. If you're looking like, I want SEO, I want to be number one by the end of this month. If anybody sells you that, what's the old saying? I got a bridge in in Brooklyn that I'll sell you as well, because that's not the way SEO works. SEO is a long-term play, just like any business person or anybody who's in any profession will know. You don't get good overnight. There's no 30-day hack to success. SEO is something you work on day in, day out for long-term success.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, I love that because the one thing I love about SEO is that you can actually, it's like you can be like an engineer. You can look at it like, if I set this up this way, then I can start to, get traffic, and then you can actually test it and see, okay, I'm getting more traffic when I do this versus when I do that. Do you do like A/B testing and stuff?
All the time. We always use it. We use Google Optimize for a lot of our A/B testing. There's plenty of other software out there, but hey, I'm a bootstrapper and I'm cheap, and Google Optimize is free. So, it does everything you need to do. You put one line of code at the top of your page. If you're using a WordPress site or some kind of CMS, they'll have a plugin for you. And all you do is go into Google Optimize, and testing new designs is the level of using PowerPoint. I mean, literally, you just go in there, they have this little interface, and they're like, okay, 50% of the people show this image or show this header, and then the other 50% do this, and it takes care of everything for you. And then you run the experiment for a week, a month, depending on what your traffic is. If you're Amazon, you run it for like a few seconds, and that's enough. You got enough traffic coming to your website to figure out what works, and then you just Google Optimize will automatically keep your page on the one that's converting best.
Right. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So maybe we'll dive into that if we have some time. We'll dive into that for this website that we're going to review. Are you ready to dive into some website insight?
Yeah, I'm a little nervous. I'm kind of more of a let me investigate beforehand kind of guy. So let's see how well it works when I do it on the fly.
Yeah, let's see. No, I just kind of like to give them as much value as I can. So if you guys that are watching, if this is something that you're like, hey, what, I don't even know what I'm watching right now. What is this? We're reviewing websites. We're helping people. We're about to review a website here. Let me just go ahead and add it here. Let's see. I always want to make sure we can see what we're looking at. We can see it. It looks like it's probably big enough, huh?
That'll work. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the one thing is, those of you guys have been watching the show for a while, you know that I always like to check for the security certificate, check and see if there's a phone number somewhere without me having to click stuff. I don't see that, just for service in general. But Ray, what stands out to you right away?
Okay, so if we're talking about it, there's going to be two things that we're going to be. I'd like to talk about a little bit here is the UI UX for the conversion side and the SEO. So from the SEO point of view, I'm assuming that where sophistication meets relaxation is their H1 tag on the page. I haven't looked at the code, but generally that is what the H1 tag is. If that's the case, unless they're trying to rank for the word sophistication meets relaxation, that's not a great H1 tag. What needs to be there in their H1 tag is whatever it is that they're trying to get traffic for. This is where the UI and the SEO people have conflict, because there's one thing is to kind of rank for Google, and the other one is to rank for is to get people to convert as well. Were you able to check it out there? I wasn't able to see in the code. Is that the H1 tag there?
Yeah, that's H1.
Okay,
yep.
It's the H1 tag. So right now that is not helping them rank at all. So the perfect balance is, let's say they're luxury apartments in Palm Bluff. I don't know exactly where the location is.
Portland, Texas.
Okay, they're in Portland, Texas. So what I would do is, okay, you want sophistication meets relaxation. So that's more of a call to actions to sales. But sophistication meets relaxation in Palm Bluff, Texas. That would make your keywords, or sophistication meets relaxation with luxury apartments in Palm Bluff, Texas. You'd have to do a little design change for that, for the size. But that way your keywords would be in the H1 tag. That way, that's exactly what you want, because you're telling Google what this page is about. Right now, Google's kind of thinking, hey, this is a little bit about sophistication meets relaxation. What does that mean? It's a spa. I mean, if I was reading that as somebody, it's a human, I'd be coming in there. Yeah, I mean, who knows what this page is about?
Like,
so you need to change that.
Bed right here. I want to get a massage on this bed.
That's it. Here. Yeah, I was like, look at that. They have a pool there. They're going to give me, I'm going to have, I don't know, vapors. I don't go to spas very often, so honestly, I don't have enough frames of reference for you here. But that's one of the things that I would do right off the bat. Number two, I'm looking up there at the top in your tab. So if we do a right-click view source, it looks like their title tag is not awful, but could be optimized. There you go. So Palm Bluff Place, apartments for rent in Portland, Texas. You want the keywords to be before the branded text. So it'd be apartments for rent in Portland, Texas, - Palm Bluff Place for SEO. If it's not very competitive, it won't make a huge difference. But if you're in a competitive field, that's the difference between being number one and number two. If you're number one in Google search results, if you're number one in the SERP, search engine rankings, you get between 30 to 40% of the traffic. Number two gets 20% of the traffic. We're talking a doubling. So if it's very competitive, that might be the difference between you getting twice as many people clicking on your website. And then it goes down from there, right? Because it goes to about 5 to 8 on the third position, 3 to 5% for all the other ones. Number 10 gets a little blip. People if you're number 10 on the search results, people click on that one more than number 9 and 8. So you kind of want to be there instead of on position 9 and 8. If you're on page 2, you might as well not have a website, right? I mean, just nobody goes to page 2.
Go delete it and go home. So one thing I did, Ray, is I searched over here. I love to do this because it gives you an idea. Luxury apartments in Portland, Texas. For what you're talking about, this is kind of the.
There you go.
We should find.
And there you can see it. They're there in the second position, right? But they're not in the first position.
PalmBluffPlace.com.
There you go. Yeah, they're in the second position, but not in the first. If they look at the difference on the first one, where does it say luxury apartments? It's before they're branded. It doesn't say apartment guide, which is their brand name. It says apartments for luxury apartment rental. So that might be the difference between the two. We're talking on-page SEO here, right? There might be other factors as well. We'd have to run this through a software like SEMrush or Ahrefs to see. Maybe the other guys just got a whole lot more backlinks than you do. In which case, don't worry about your title tag. There's certain, at that point, just start building backlinks to your website. But those are two things that right off the bat, they can fix in 30 seconds. I mean, these are not things that take a lot of work.
So, Ray, maybe you want to comment real quick just on the quality of backlinks.
Sure. So Google is pretty vague. So for those who don't know, I'm going to assume total ignorance on SEO here. Backlinks means another website put a link to your website. Simple as that. It's not overcomplicated. That's about it. Not all links are made equal. If you had a link from Google.com's homepage, that's really different from having a link from your mom's blog. They're going to give you totally different results. So that's one factor in the quality. Google doesn't quantify how powerful links are, but there are software out there that does. Ahrefs is the one I use. There's SEMrush, there's Moz, there's multiple software things out there. Generally, they give you a score for your website of 0 to 100. And it's all kind of a logarithmic scale, so it's not linear. It's not like, 51 is 1 better than 50. No, 51 is actually twice as good as 50, and 52 is twice as good as 51, and it kind of goes up there. So it's much harder, much easier to get from 0 to 30 than it is from 30 to 50. If you're above 50, you've got a pretty substantial website. And if you got above 90, you're Google, you're Microsoft, you're all the rest of it. I mean, that's Facebook. That's the only way you're getting up there. That's how one of the ways you gauge the links back to your site, depending on how powerful the site that's giving it to you is one of the ways. Number 2, Google does like relevance. So if you're selling luxury apartments, but your link is from your local pharmacy, well, actually, local pharmacy might actually work. If it's also in, Palm Bluff, Texas, that might actually be relevant. But if you get it from like a pharmacy in India giving you a link, entirely Google will be like, what the heck? And they might even penalize you for it because they're going to think, obviously somebody paid for this. This is not natural. This would not have happened naturally. And that's what Google wants the links to be. They want some kind of natural thing. And keep in mind, people fudge this all the time. Don't pay for links. There are tons of $1 million companies out there that pay for links every single day. I'll be honest. I don't recommend it. I've lost businesses overnight by kind of fudging that line, trying to get close to it. And then Google moves the line and says, okay, you're no longer on the good side. You're on the bad side. And they just banned me from Google. So right now I do 100% white hat, and I would never recommend to any client to do anything but that.
Yeah, so Ray's talking about is there's black hat and white hat techniques. Black hat, it might be black hat today, or might be considered somewhat white hat, maybe gray hat.
Gray hat is actually I was in the gray hat realm for a long time because it worked, and that's what got me hit. I never did straight up black hat, which is you use these softwares to generate stuff. I never went that far, but
thousands of leads. I had a website client reach out to me, and well-meaning client. He paid like $150 for 1,000 backlinks, and he goes, I'd like to add these, and so I started looking at them. And the funny thing was they're basically websites that's all these people do from India or wherever they're from. They just go and they spend an hour creating websites that then link back to his website. And it's not even really a website. It's just a page on a website,
that used to work. Back before 2012, Google had an algorithm update called Penguin back in 2012. That's when I lost one of my businesses overnight, because that was the gray hat and they moved the line. And this all used to work. I mean, in fact, you had to do it if you wanted to rank back then, because, if you didn't, somebody else was doing it and they would blow you out of the water. Google decided that's no longer allowed. And suddenly, a lot of business, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of businesses just lost their ranking overnight and had to start from scratch or close their doors. So as somebody who has gone through that, don't risk your business on something like that. I mean, stick to white hat. There's plenty of cool ways and creative ways you can get links back to your website without actually doing that. And definitely stick to those.
Yeah, definitely good. So, yeah. And so just, thinking about from taking it to the other realm, right? We talk about black hat and white hat. I love the idea, depending on your industry, like in the legal service space, I love the idea of contributing some kind of value to some of these directories or associations, creating a blog. I mean, if you're in a room of 20 people and you're the only person who does what you do for a living, you are the expert. So, Ray, what are some of the things that, we'll go on with the website review here in a second, but what are some of the things that you would suggest for getting quality backlinks?
Yeah, so especially in like the legal profession, you guys actually have a lot of resources out there that you can use. One of the things that I've been very successful at in creating links is to get a lot of what I call public domain resources, right? And generally public domain resources look awful. I mean, they're produced by the government. If you're in the law, it means, they were like LexisNexis, threw it up there or something like that, right? So they're really ugly looking pieces of material, but they might have some really valuable material in it. So all you need to do is find a way to extract that, make it more, user friendly or reader friendly, and people will link back to you. The general process that you do for that, let's say an easy one for law or a lot of businesses is, okay, you find this law case and you want to kind of put it up there and it looks really bad. So hire a graphic designer and make them create like a graphic, an infographic. Those were super popular about 4 or 5 years ago, but they still could be effective if used in certain spaces. I haven't looked too much at law, but I'm guessing that lawyers have not oversaturated the market with infographics. So that might actually be an opportunity for a lot of lawyers that are out there. You can kind of create something that explains some kind of precedent really, really easily, right? People will link to that. In fact, what you do is then you go on and you use tools again like Ahrefs, and you find out, who's the top 10 ranking person for whatever this precedent you're talking about, right? You go and find the top 10 pages. You can find out everybody who's linked to those pages. Then you reach out to them and say, look, you linked to this, but I have something a lot better on my website. Check it out. And there's a really good chance that they're going to link to you. Then rinse, lather, and repeat. It's not like we're running out of different content in law, right? That you can do this kind of thing with. Whether infographics, you made a video about it, you made a podcast episode about it. It doesn't really matter. You can apply this method to any one of these pieces of content, and you can get links coming in all day long. And once you start getting on page number 1 for that kind of thing, not even in position number 1, just page number 1, people will start linking to you organically. You no longer have to do it because now somebody's going to search for it in Google. They're going to find your page. They're going to see, let's say, position number 3. They read number 1, they read number 2, and they're like boring. They're exactly the same dry stuff. They go to number 3 and like, damn, this is amazing. When they're referring to it on their blog, on their website, which one do you think they're going to pick? The 2 boring, dry articles, or the one that's amazing at the third position? So you just keep doing that, and you'll just wake up in the morning and you'll just be checking like, damn, I got another link, another link, another link. You no longer have to do any outreach anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah, and the thing is like, if you have a service to offer, this is dollar bills.
That's it.
This is dollar bills. You get people to show up. Like we just did a search right here. This is a great example. Apartmentguide.com. If this was my website, the one we're reviewing right now, the person is going to probably click here first.
Twice as much. Literally, the difference between being in position 2 and position 1 is a doubling of your business from that keyword. Wow. That's how much of an impact that can make on your business.
Wow. So you're the SEO expert. So tell me, how about the map section? Does your ranking down here affect where you show up in the map?
It's an entirely different algorithm. Where you show up on the maps is actually more tied to the number of reviews that you have and also what they call the review velocity. So you can see it's 4.7, 4.1, 4.1. 4.7 is going to come up at the top. The velocity is, all else being equal, velocity is number 2 when you're ranking there. So if you have 60 and you're in the first position, that's great. But if somebody else gets up to 60, but they're getting a new review every single week and you haven't gotten a review in the last 6 months, then they will knock you off the top position. So those are the two things that kind of are factors in the Google Places ranking that you come up for over there.
That makes sense. The other thing is proximity, obviously, to location, right? You search in the city.
Mm-hmm. Up to a point. They won't necessarily. They will not put the. They won't put the closest one first. But they all have to be within a certain amount of. A certain radius of where you're looking in order for it to work. Palm Bluff place is not going to rank if somebody in San Francisco is looking for luxury apartments. Doesn't matter what you do. That's never going to show up, right?
Yeah, that's good. That's good. And so you can also take some of the, we just did this basic search. We were talking about keyword or backlinks, using some of these keywords over here, you could start to create articles just based on that, right?
Mm-hmm. Make sure when you're looking for articles, though, that you take a look at the keyword volume, the search volume, right? Because a lot of people there's two errors that people use with the keyword search volume, right? One is like, wow, 1 million people look for this every month. I should write an article about it. Trust me, if 1 million people look for it every month, some companies throwing millions of dollars to rank for that, chances are you are not going to beat them. I mean, that's just way too high of a search volume. The other end is they like, oh, that looks good. And then they never check the search volume. And there are only 5 people a month looking for it, which is not worth your time to write an article for. The search volume that's optimal, there's no set number. It depends on your business and where you're at. An example I like to use is if you're selling $5 lawn chairs, you need a search volume of a few thousand to make it worth your while, right? Because let's say you convert 1% on, you're number one, you'll convert about 1%. You need to be making a decent amount of sales to make it worth your time. If you're selling a $500,000 Ferrari and 10 people a month are looking for it, yeah, that's worth your time, right? Even if you rank number one for that and you make one sale every 6 months, you just sold a $500,000 Ferrari and you'll go after it. So there is no fixed number in these keyword volumes like, hey, everybody should go from 1,000 to 5,000. That's not how it works.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, I mean, understanding Google and kind of dissecting like what it takes to rank in these places is a really valuable thing. And so it's really good to have you on and kind of diving into it. Maybe we'll just kind of scroll down here.
Sure.
I mean, it seems like they are focusing on the kind of the on-page, visualization of things. They've done a pretty decent job of that.
That's unfortunately, one of the errors that a lot of people making websites do. Now, on-page definitely matters. Your page has to look professional. Otherwise, your bounce rate will be huge, right? People will get there and they're like, what the heck is this? I'm not going to do business with these people. But they stress that a little too much because the example I always give is you can have I'm dating myself with a reference, right? It's the whole Field of Dreams thing, right? If you build it, they will come. No, that's not how it works in the web world. You can have the most beautiful website in the world, but unless you SEO optimize it and then start building backlinks to it, nobody will ever show up on your website. So the on-page, the design needs to go hand in hand with the back-end SEO in order for anybody who has a website to have a successful business through their website. If your website is just your calling card you send out to people and you don't really care if people find it on Google, make it as pretty as you want. Nobody cares. But if you're trying to actually get people to search for this, click on it, and ultimately buy whatever it is you're selling, you need to mix SEO with a beautiful design in order to get the results that you want.
That's good. Yeah, that's true. And then too, let's say you do a good job, Ray, and you did all your stuff, you dialed it all in, the person comes to your website, you actually got them to your website, and then they get there and it's beautiful. The website's beautiful. But they get there, like when we first hit it, I was like, is Palm Bluff the city? That was my first thought.
Or was it the name of the development? I'm like, I have no idea. So I'm like, I don't know what that is.
So I think right away, like you said, putting the city based on, it is a local service, they're in Portland, Texas. Maybe they offer a service in other areas, but it's unlikely, being a property management company type apartment complex, right? Everybody's trying to rent this particular complex. So I do like that they have this little pop-up kind of situation that I didn't see it for a little while until we scrolled down and then it showed up.
Agreed. And one of the things about the pop-ups is, in my experience with the pop-ups, the best success is when at that level, you're capturing something, right? Because this pop-up is essentially, from what I can tell, is to take you to another page. So it's kind of putting another click between the user and the desired action. So now proceed to check availability and apply. That seems like a big jump to me. I don't know what the people looking for this is, but the first thing that you always want to do, and I know you've talked about this before, is you want to get their email, right? Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't be trying to make the sale. It's like I showed up on the page. Now I'm trying to get them to get on a sales call. That's a big jump for a lot of people. Just, offer something that's a lot easier, more accessible. Hey, let me, instead of showing these floor plans down there, download our floor plans and our financing options or something like that, right? Just so here, I'll send you a PDF. Give me your email. That's all I'm asking for in this pop-up. Give me your email. And they should have at least 2 different kinds of calls to actions in pop-ups. One thing that's working really well for me right now are exit intent pop-ups. So you have this pop-up for somebody who's, I'm assuming it's on a timer, or it's based on scroll depth, right? So it comes up after 10 seconds or because they've actually read your page. But some people might be going to that first one and then they're like, no, I don't want it, and they're about to leave. So exit intent pop-ups is an algorithm when they detect that you're either going towards the back button or towards the close browser button on the top right. And that's when another pop-up comes up. And that one you should give them a more immediate call to action. Offer a coupon, a free tour, show up and we'll give you lunch for free at our facilities, something like that. You don't offer that right off the bat because you might be able to get them without doing that. But if they're about to leave you, most people never go back to the same website, when they're doing this kind of thing ever again. So you're going to lose your chance to get them. So try to get them with an exit pop-up at that point as well. So ask for their email and put an exit pop-up in there. Also asking for their email.
Yeah, that's a great point. And just to your point right here, it says special offer. So, I mean, this is not a special offer.
You're making them do more work right there. I mean, you're not offering, you're offering to give them more work. It seems little, but they've even done studies, right? When they do the sign-up form, if you get rid of like 1 or 2 fields instead, don't ask those 2 things, you'll get the completion rate will go up. There are a few studies that are exceptions to that. But in general speaking, the easier you make it for them, the more sales, more conversions you're going to get. And they're making this a little harder. There again, it looks pretty. That's kind of, I think, the first thing they were doing, but it's not making sales.
Yeah, and I like the idea of this automation and the floor plans and all this kind of stuff. But remember, like in this case, I'm new. Like I have no idea who you are, what the experience is like. I mean, this is going to be a place I'm going to live. So I do like the imagery. I like being able to imagine, like if this said something like, the desired apartment, luxury apartment in, whatever state, like you're saying. And I knew that that's what this was. Well, then now I'm just looking about like, is this something, maybe finances, like how much is it going to cost, maybe, so try to put yourself in the customer's mind. Just imagine that you're them and what do they want to see? And so I think they're on point with most of this, but I feel like what you said is like getting the email, like some kind of a free download. I mean, you can go on Fiverr for $5 and have like a cool image made that says, 10, I don't know, obviously every industry is different, but 10 tips for finding the right place to live or,
That's it. You can get, you get exactly like Fiverr and Upwork. You can get for $50, you can have somebody write the ebook for you. I mean, just it's a 10-page ebook. Then you pay another $20 to a graphic designer so they make it look good and it matches your branding. So it uses their logo, uses the kind of looks like that turquoise blue is their color. That'll be in your ebook. So your branding will be all over the place. You send it to people. You have their email, and nothing converts better than email marketing still. I mean, people don't believe it. They think because of all the spam we're getting, email marketing no longer works. Trust me, it absolutely works. There's some studies out there that show that only about 30% of people will make the sale like the first time they come to your website. A lot of businesses never do any kind of follow-up. They don't do Facebook pixels, Google pixels. They don't do email marketing. So they're losing 70% of their sales. A lot of people will make it 30 days later, especially some big purchase like the house or a condo. You're not going to be making that. It's not eBay. You're not going to be bidding on that, Star Wars toy you want and giving them like $20 in a minute. This is a huge decision. So you need to really make them feel comfortable. Give them a lot of value up front. Mike, you've said exactly that. Give them value. See, this is what we can do for you. Here's a free, don't even make it sales. Here's a free ebook on how to decide find the perfect apartment for you. Nothing to do with Palm, their specific apartments. Here's a checklist that you should be asking to make sure this is the right apartment for you. Give them that. Then you just start sending them emails. Hey, I got something else free for you. Did you like our checklist? Check this out. Hey, we got a barbecue going on this Wednesday. Totally free for everybody on our mailing list. Come on down. We don't sell you a thing. We just got burgers. We got hot dogs. You just come and check it out. We're watching the game, and then kind of keep on moving up from there. They know you. They're going to get to know you a lot better. I'm like, oh, I trust these guys. Yeah. Now when they come to me, it's like, we have a new development, whether it's this one or, I got a new condo for sale. Yeah, it's Mike. I know Mike. He gave me a burger last week. I'm going to buy a condo from him. That's what you need to kind of do in your marketing, right? Don't go straight into, hey, buy my $500,000 condo or whatever. I don't know what the prices are, but that's not going to work very well.
Yeah, luxury apartments. Yeah, I feel like if you had any kind of a situation where, like with real estate or any kind of like you're selling furniture, I guess you have a furniture store, like you should be having some barbecues. You should be having some, get people on site where they can see and feel and walk in the kitchen. And, one of the things I love with real estate is like, this idea of like when you're trying to close somebody on a house and you say something like, so if you get this house, do you think you're going to throw a welcoming party?
Mm-hmm. It's emotions. That's right. You don't sell features, you sell emotions. But if you went in there, this house is 3,000 square feet and it has marble countertops, and people are just like, yeah, that's fine. But if you're like, no, this is where you can raise your kids. Yeah. This is where your son is going to walk for the first time. And you're going to be proud, and you're going to send a photo to your whole family, and they're going to see it. And they're not only your son walking, but the beautiful house that's behind it. Then people are like, yeah, this is where I want that. Nobody cares if they have like this granite came from, I don't know, northern Wisconsin from a quarry. I'm like, I don't care. I'm like, that's not what people care about, right?
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And so, so your website should be like I guess an on-ramp to this idea of whatever service or product that you're going to give them. And so I love that. I love the mentality behind it. I love the technicality behind it because it's very technical. You can see with our page source here, we could spend all day diving into some of this stuff about the image sizes and loading times and Google.
That's it. Unfortunately, they just got sued in Europe for being a monopoly, right? In the US, they're talking about doing it because really they are. I mean, let's be honest. Yeah, their argument is that Bing exists as well. When was the last time you made a search on Bing? I'm like, no. I think my grandfather did just because he didn't know how to change his browser default to Google. But it's 85% of the market in the United States, if not more, depending on where you're at. If you're not ranking on Google and your business has an online component, you might as well not have a business.
Yeah. We were watching a TV show the other day, and it was an investigative show or something like that. And the lady goes, "Did you Bing it?" She goes, "Did you Bing it?" And I was like,
I wonder how much Microsoft paid for that. I'm like,
no, nobody says that. I was
nobody does. Yeah. Nobody. Yeah. Microsoft, that is paid product placement. That's like the guy's Coca-Cola with the Coca-Cola label facing towards the camera. That's exactly what you just saw. Yeah.
I was like, nobody said that. Was a hard sell right there. I was like, nobody says that. Good stuff, man. Well, hey, every episode here, we give away the $3,000 in website credits. And so as we wrap things up here, I definitely want to make sure we pick somebody here. Let's see here. Let's go. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Vista Notaries, Glenda Peretti Rooney. Guys, remember, you got to comment your website below if you want to enter. Usually I make a big old fanfare about it. But listen, what I'm finding is that when I do these things, Ray, and I give away the website credits, not everybody continues to watch the show, so they don't hear it. And I'm not emailing them, or I'm not. Actually, I don't even have their email. They commented their website. So if I want to be a skip tracer and go find your email, I will. So Glenda, you reach out to me, and you got $3,000 in website credits where I will design, meet with you, customize stuff, and we'll see if she reaches out to me. It'll be fun.
Do it, Brenda. It's worth it.
Yeah, thank you, Ray. I appreciate it. So, Ray, tell all of our mighty website builders out there that are like trying to get the perfect website. Tell them your parting piece of advice.
Okay, the key to the perfect website is what we've alluded to today, right? So we're talking about writing a website for Google because they have to rank, but really what Google wants is a website that people want to spend time on. The key to making a good website is understand your customers and then tell them their story back to them. That's really what a lot of what we were talking about today is these emotions that we were feeling about buying that house. is make sure that your website actually tells a story. And the story starts on your homepage, but it ends on your sales page, right? So you're starting the beginning. They're starting off on their journey. Who's their guide? Well, obviously the service, this website is their guide, and you guide them through until the end. They reach their goal. They get whatever it is that they want. They defeat their monster, or they kind of lose the weight, whatever it is the goal. Think about website design, building your website that way, and Google will love you, your customers will love you, and your bank account will love you.
That's good. Good. To the point. Bam. Great. How can we keep up with everything you have going on?
Yeah. So, I got a lot of stuff going on. But I'm not much of a social media personality. I like to tell everybody that, I don't have time to be witty on Twitter every single day, so don't follow me on Twitter. I mean, there's like nothing going on there. But the main project that I'm working on right now is something called podcasthawk.com. And it doesn't matter what industry you're in, law, whether you're selling condos, podcasts are a growing way of promoting yourself, your brand, or your product to new audiences around the country and around the world. The challenge was when I started trying to be on podcasts to promote my primary business, livelingua.com. Finding podcasts to get on is not easy. You can't search iTunes to save your life. You try Google searching them. Half of those podcasts haven't created new episodes in like a year. So they kind of come up on Google. You email them, it's like, I haven't done a new episode. So me being a software engineer, I spent a weekend. I'm like, can I do something better? At the end of the weekend, I'm like, yeah, I can. So I've created a database of every single podcast on iTunes and Stitcher and made it searchable. You can go in there. We have search factors. So you're like, hey, you want to show up on a law podcast that's created an episode in the last 30 days, has at least 50 episodes, average rating of 4.5 stars, and has the word, mergers in any of their episode descriptions. So if that's your specialty, you're trying to get on there, you're trying to promote yourself, you could search Google for hundreds of hours, or you could just click search on my system, and it will bring back every podcast that matches it. But there's more. You click on, okay, I like this. Let's launch a campaign. You fill out some simple forms. We even take care of the outreach for you. So we email all these podcasts. We do the follow-ups. When they answer saying, yeah, I'd love to have you on my show, we just forward that email to you. All you do is pick a day and a time, and you've not only promoted your business. So, you get in front of whatever the podcast audience is, however many people that is. We were talking about SEO. You're in their show notes. They put a link to you on their website. So now your own personal website is now ranking higher in Google. So all you have to do is spend 30 minutes of your time talking about your expertise, which for most people who do, whatever it is, that's fun. I mean, talking about what you're good at, what you do for a living is fun. And you're promoting your business. So you can get on podcasts. I did an experiment with this, with the first 100 ones. We're launching in January. So January is when we're launching the beta group. I did a little experiment with sending it out to 100 travel podcasts just to see how much response I would get. I estimated 1 to 5%. That's general cold outreach. That's what I got. Yeah, 34% response rate. I got booked on 34 podcasts in 3 days. So be careful with this. Podcasthawk.com. It launches in January. If you do it right, it's a very powerful tool. Don't let it get to your head, because trust me, I had to do 34 podcasts in about a month, and I was pretty tired by the end of it. But I got 34 backlinks, and I saw a spike in my sales just as a result of that. So it definitely works. So podcasthawk.com, go and check it out.
Yeah, when coming from the perspective of SEO and actual search, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm definitely.
Nobody does it. It's totally. I'm like, I'm actually on a quest, and I just started, but to be on 1,000 podcasts, I'm going to try to see what the result of my SEO is. So if you want to follow me on social media, I'll start posting more in January. But it's hashtag 1,000 podcast challenge, and you can follow me as I kind of appear on more and more podcasts. I'm up to about 60 right now. So I got a long way to go to get to that 1,000 mark.
Well, you get to practice your elevator pitch too, right?
I think so. Yeah, you heard my first one. I was a lot less smooth. I was super nervous on my first podcast, but after I've been on a few now, I'm a little bit. It's a work in progress. I know I got to get better at it, but I'm a little better now than I was when I started.
Well, definitely. Well, we appreciate you coming on, and definitely, guys, go check out podcasthawk.com. Ray, thank you so much for coming on, man. This has been great.
Thanks, Mike. It's been a lot of fun.
Definitely. You guys go ahead and bang that like button. Let's see what we get. There you go. Facebook. Get it? Twitter, don't worry about it. You're probably not watching unless you're Trump. And then YouTube. Get the YouTube for me. Right? Hit it.
There you go. Whoops.
Boom.
Oh, my camera's backwards. There you go. Let's go on the other side. Yeah.
All right, you guys. Thanks, Ray. I appreciate it, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you later, Mike.
All right. See you guys. See you next week.